Frosty the Snowman.
Thunder in paradise.
It was a very gentle soul. He wasn't Hulk Hogan because that guy's kind of racist. And he had a corncob pipe. I don't know if you remember Frosty the Snowman being that way, but that's how that shit was, TJ. We got the brother taker, so we're good.
I got the brother taker. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm just taking all your brothers.
Get my glasses because I can't see shit without my glasses.
That's
You know what's
all right.
funny?
We're watching Thunder in Paradise. I don't think you need to see any. You may not want to see anything.
I loved Thunder in Paradise when I was younger because it was like it was at a point where it's like I like WCW a little bit more than WWF at the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like, oh, cool, Hulk Hogan, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Jimmy Hart, all these people. It's like, it makes absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. Knowing what they do in their real life, why these people would be in a show called Thunder in Paradise, that they clearly, I say that the movie Street Fighter clearly ripped off the idea of the boat from Thunder in Paradise.
Wait, what's the year differential on that? That's actually a very interesting question. Because Thunder in Paradise, the pilot movie was 1993. They're pretty close. They've got to be pretty close.
1994.
Oh, yeah, they did rip it off then. They completely ripped it off.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. We've learned something today. You know what? Screw it. Three lame guys. We're already a couple minutes into this. This is for the podcast. The podcast. So what you don't know is happening right now is that Jared is maybe dead. TJ and I are here. Mr. CAC is my name, and we're discussing some of the things that we're doing. It hasn't been unleashed on YouTube yet, but we're about to do some TV show riff commentary. And one of the shows that we're recording tonight is Thunder in Paradise. Well, I guess the show that we're recording tonight because it's 41 minutes. And by the end of that, none of these boys will still feel fun. They will want to leave. But I like anyone that in the 90s thought, you know what? Our leading sexy man is going to be that muscular, over 6 foot tall guy that has been perpetually bald his entire existence. And his hair that is there does not look real. It does not look real. It looked realer back in 94 and 93 when the episodes were watching this. Yeah. But at a certain point, it just looks like he ripped hair off of a puppet and glued it to the back of his head.
You know what's great is I will say this. Wrestlers, when they find a look, they stick with it.
They sure do.
I mean, look at, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the Honky Tonk Man, Jimmy Hart, all these people from, wrestled or managed in the 80s, they stuck with that look throughout their career. I bet if you go to Florida and find Jimmy Hart's little shop or whatever in Florida, he dresses the exact same way he did in 1983.
I'll do you one better. I was on a flight back from a work conference, and we were flying into Northwest Arkansas. Jimmy Hart was on the flight.
Really?
You know how I know it was Jimmy Hart?
Oh, it's easy. You just had to look at him.
So his hairstyle the same. I mean, the widow peak's a bit higher. He was wearing sunglasses the entire time. This was, I don't even know if the sun was out, but he was wearing sunglasses the entire time, and he had on a WWE Performance Center, like, all black kind of jumpsuit type attire. But it wasn't racist. Like he was, but he wasn't wearing like his like flaming jacket and have a microphone or have the bullhorn, which I kind of wish he would have.
It probably couldn't, bring it on unless it was on his carry-on.
And I really wanted to approach him and be like, "Are you Jimmy Hart? Can I take a picture with you?" But then, like, two thoughts crossed my mind. The first thought was, that's kind of dickish. I'm sure people get really bummed out about getting harassed at airports by random nerds that know them. And, like, no one else is bothering him, so, like, maybe I shouldn't do it. But really the second thing was probably the more prominent one. It's this one thought that was, well, what if that is a Jimmy Hart? What if that is just a perpetually stuck in the 80s looking guy that just happens
like
to
Jimmy Hart cosplay
like
kind of thing? Think someone cosplaying as Jimmy Hart, maybe?
It's so fascinating. Jared, welcome to this. This is our pre-recording. This is our audio podcast episode, and we've been talking about getting ready for Thunder in Paradise, which, if you're listening to this podcast, none of this has happened on YouTube yet, but eventually we'll have Thunder in Paradise and commentary about it on YouTube. But I also had this same feeling when I saw Mike Tyson driving around in Las Vegas back in like 2015-ish, and it's some celebrities, I guess because you only ever see them on TV. When you see them in person, you're like, that might not be them.
Yeah.
What if that is just a black man? Like, I can't just go up to him like, Mike
With a
Tyson!
facial tattoo.
Okay, so yes, he did have that, but in Vegas, I can't put it past someone to be a Mike Tyson impersonator.
Right.
And then I don't want to be the dumbass that falls for it, takes a picture of it, posts it on Facebook, and everyone's like, hey, Chris, don't want to let you know this, but you're racist. That's not really Mike Tyson.
That's my Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom. See what I did there?
I did.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, but like, all the wrestlers from the 80s, you bring up that, the 2 points of like, should I even approach them? At some point it's like, imagine if you were in their shoes and you just did not want to be approached by someone coming up and talking to you and be like, hey, Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, I'm a big fan, can I take a picture, and just annoying them like that. But at the same time, it's like you missed an opportunity to go up there and be like, hey, are you Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart? And
So
all you had to do is hear the guy talk,
Yeah.
If I put myself in his shoes, TJ, if I saw me approaching me, I'd be like, God, no. Not this. Why can't it ever
real? No.
Why can't it ever be a young, beautiful woman? Why is it always the overweight, mid-30s assholes? Hey, I remember you from wrestling. It's never, hey, will you be my sexy daddy? It's, hey, I remember that one time you got hit by Jim Cornette's tennis racket.
Well, I mean, kind of the same thing though. Like, Jared and I, for anyone who hasn't been paying attention ever, used to be in a band.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I know, it's weird, right? Like, do you remember those days?
I don't even know y'all. No, but yeah.
Well, okay, so it always struck me as like, when people go up to bands, a lot of times they're just so starstruck and it's just like, oh gosh, I just want your autograph, and they're very shy and don't want to take picture, want to take a picture but don't really know how to say, hey, can I take your picture with you? Or it's like, the shit, what is it, the it was Theory of a Deadman, in Oklahoma City. Was it Oklahoma City?
Yep.
Yeah. They finished their set and then they went out into the lobby and just to meet all the fans, and people were coming up getting autographs and taking pictures, and you see some people just sitting there like, your Theory of a Deadman. It's just like, dude, they're just fucking people, man.
I still remember that picture that I've got with him, and I realized how short I was. Like Dean, their bass player. Dean, their bass player, was the closest to my height, and he was a couple inches taller than me. Now, depending on a Ron White joke here, what convenience store I'm leaving, I'm between, 5'5" and 5'7". So Dean is probably 5'9" or so, but Tyler and the rest of the guys are like 6'2",
6'8".
And I remember looking at this picture. I'm like, oh, look at that band hanging out with that kid. Oh, that's me. That's me.
Look at that kid's got a beard.
Even like, like Blackstone Cherry or, all the other ones that we've met along the way.
Well,
and it's like, you just sit there and talk to, I mean, hell, like Shinedown, like their original bass player, like I just met on a whim, just like I was at the concert and decided that I was tired of being crushed by a sea of people up against a guardrail.
That was the Tulsa one, wasn't it?
No, that was Little Rock. That
was
the Velvet Revolver, and everyone was pushing forward to get to Slash.
Yes.
By the way, a little bit of physics. No matter how much you push up against a wall, you cannot get any closer to that wall.
Yeah, you just continue to flatten against it. That was the concert that I saved our dear sister's life, Mr. CAC.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was the one where it's like I held my ground. Like I remember we got to the front, we got to the guardrail, right next to the stage, and like all of us were just kind of spread out amongst the guardrail, and I would just see, oh well, so and so went over, oh, Jared's gone over, because Christina went over, and then I remember you yelling at the security guy, "That's my sister! That's my sister!"
I was like, "Get me out! Get me out! Get me out!" Because at the time she was like 14, and I was responsible for her. If that happened today, I'd be like, "She's fine." We'll find her somewhere. I've got her. I'll just call her. We didn't have cell phones then.
So this guy standing next to me was like, "Holy cow, dude! Like everyone else is getting pulled over and passing out, and you've held your ground the entire time." And I was on the verge of passing out at that point, and I was just like, "Yeah, well, y'all fuckers want it. Y'all can have it." And I yell over to the security guards. Which, by the way, if you go to a lot of concerts in like a certain area during a certain amount of time, you realize you meet a lot of the security guards, and they're the same guys at every concert. And this was the Little Rock SWAT team were doing security.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if it was a SWAT team or like it was a private security thing, but they hired. I know the guy that you're talking about was on the Little Rock SWAT team.
Yeah, so I mean, there was a few of them that I talked to that were actually like SWAT, and what they were doing was like in their time off, like they would do security at concerts. So I was just, we'd see them so many times at all these different concerts, and hey, and just, you remember each other, and finally I was just like, now I'm not a light person. I'm not a small person. I am, let's just say, overweight.
Got what you might call a little bit of a weight problem.
A little bit of a weight problem.
You love food, and food has loved you, TJ.
It just sticks with you, So I just remember like the two of those guys were standing there, and the guys we met 100 times before probably, and I just holler at them. I'm like, "Hey, can you pull me over?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. Stick your arms out like this and put your arms out like like an airplane." And I do that. And these two guys come over, one guy under each arm, and lift me up like I don't weigh a thing. And then they set me down. They're like, "Just go around over there." I'm like, "All right, cool." And shake their hands. I start walking off, and I get to the back, and I just sit down, and I'm like, because I mean, I was, in the process of being crushed for 2.5 hours straight. Then I get up and I walk up to the, because it's a Verizon Arena. What's our arena now?
It's Simmons. It's Simmons Bank Arena now,
Simmons
but at the time it was Verizon.
Actually, was it Alltel?
That was Alltel at the time. Yeah,
it was Alltel.
That was 2005.
Yeah. So it's like I go back up to where like all the concessions are and everything, and I'm walking around. I go find concessions, get a drink, and I'm walking around, and I see this girl that was standing next to me. She runs over and she grabs me. She's like, "Hey, I want you to meet someone." Pulls me over, and it's the freaking bass player for Shinedown who I just saw play. And I'm like, "Hey, man, good show." And sit there and talk to him. And basically, me and him just started talking, and like completely ignored this girl because we were just talking about band stuff the entire time.
Nice.
And it's just like, and got to hang out with him. He's like, "Oh crap, hold on." Pulls the curtain back and starts. He goes, "Oh man," he goes, "Yeah, Velvet Revolver's going to do something really cool." And I was thinking they were just about to start, and I wanted to see it. And yeah, they did something pretty cool that show.
It was a Halloween kind of themed.
It was on Halloween. Like
Shinedown, Chevelle, and Velvet Revolver, right?
Oh, that's
Earshot,
a good sounding show.
Earshot was there too. That's right.
Earshot, Shinedown, Chevelle, Velvet Revolver, and. What they did was they came out dressed as, because this was around the time that Axl Rose was getting Guns N' Roses back together, but it wasn't going to be the actual Guns N' Roses lineup. It was going to be Buckethead on guitar.
Yeah.
And so like Scott Weiland comes out dressed as Axl Rose. He's got a kilt on, a WWF championship belt on, a long blonde wig on, and then like Slash comes out with a KFC bucket on his head and a yellow raincoat, and they start playing a Guns N' Roses song, and then Scott Weiland says something, throws the mic down, and everyone goes off stage, and the lights come on, and people were like, "What the hell? This is it." And you start to see people leaving, and then 5 minutes later, the lights go back out, and the concert, the Velvet Revolver concert starts out. So for anyone who doesn't know, Velvet Revolver is the original Guns N' Roses lineup minus Axl Rose, but with Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots singing.
God rest his soul.
I think I think there was a couple other, maybe like, I don't know. I don't know.
Duff and Slash were definitely there. I don't know if
the
the
drummer,
the
and
original
the
drummer.
guitars. Yeah, but yeah, it was cool. It was a good show.
So if anybody reference real quick, the throwing the mic down and taking the entire band off stage, that's a reference. If you don't know anything about music or what we're talking about, back in 1992, in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, Metallica and Guns N' Roses have this big summer dual headlining thing, and they're co-headlining. Metallica opens one night, Guns N' Roses open. Well, anyways, when they get to Quebec, it is Metallica's night to open, Guns N' Roses' night to headline. There's a big incident with pyrotechnics, and James Hetfield from Metallica, the lead singer, rhythm guitarist, basically steps into a pyro blast, has to go to the hospital. They can't continue the show. Then there's like a 2-hour wait before Guns N' Roses comes out there because they thought it was too early. Like, it's something it's not very long into the set where Axl basically just says, we're done. We're not playing anymore. Riots ensued in Montreal because fans were pissed. Arguably so. But that was, to those of us who kind of knew what was going on, like me and TJ, that you could feel it in the crowd, though. You could feel that collective, like, what? Whoa, hey, whoa. We paid money to see this. And there were a few of us, me and TJ were just like, man, they're playing this Halloween thing up really good.
Well, and I think also Axl Rose had a history of cutting shows early too.
Yes.
Because of whatever reasons and whatnot. So it wasn't just like, I think it started with that Montreal show, but I mean, I think throughout the rest of the tenure at Guns N' Roses, like there was issues of, him showing up late, starting the shows late, ending the shows early, just, yeah. But
I watched a YouTube video of him one time, and I guess it was with Guns, but more recent since he's put on weight and looks like the three of us with still got his nice long hair. But some heckler was in the crowd or whatever, and Axl Rose said the truest things that I've ever heard him say to this guy in the audience. He's like, "Oh, you want to be an asshole? You're never going to find a bigger asshole than me." And the crowd went nuts, and I was thinking, you know what? At least he knows. At least he knows I'm a douchebag.
At least he's honest.
Yeah, it's nice when people are self-aware.
So, like, if you've ever watched anything on Guns, Guns N' Roses for YouTube. If you watch anything Guns, Axl Rose is actually an AR-15. But so, like, Axl is a very, very talented yet tormented individual. And, like, the whole history of Guns and him, how he orchestrated. I mean, the guy's got a 12. Well, he had a 12 octave range. For all you singers out there, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you're not a singer, that means there's a bunch of keys in the spectrum of sound that he can hit, some that most humans can't. And it's just I feel like it's just such a shame that, like, it all went the way it did. But hey, he showed up with Carrie Underwood back in whenever it was, and they did Sweet Child of Mine, and Carrie did way better than he did.
Well, that's Carrie Underwood, though.
I mean, Carrie's great.
She's not human when it comes to singing.
That's very true. I put Carrie up there in the category of, like, Dio and, Jennifer Hudson, like the girl, because she's just got some pipes, man. TJ has left the building. So, CAC, you got time? Holy diver! So funny thing about TJ was talking about, like, bands and, like, people. You meet these people, and, like, there's so many people that are starstruck, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's like, but we would always meet them in musical settings as musicians. So, like, the first time that we met, Theory of a Deadman, it was just kind of like, hey, Tyler, what's up? Their singer, hey, Dean, what's up? Their bass player. And it was just kind of like, I don't think we were starstruck. We were happy to be there. Yeah. But what was so cool about Theory of a Deadman, and TJ, you can back me up on this. They played at Juanita's in Little Rock with Blackstone Cherry, our other good friends. Are you still friends with them on Facebook, TJ?
No.
Okay. No.
TJ's barely friends with us on Facebook.
That's true.
Let's be very, very real.
If you don't know anything about Facebook, TJ doesn't do it. Did you see that thing on Facebook? No, I did not. We saw Theory in Tulsa. They had no meet and greet. We left after the show. We left. They may have had one. We left. Then we saw Theory again in Oklahoma City. That's when they came out to do the meet and greet. And I asked their singer Tyler about something that I'd seen the first show that we saw them, and they had an appearance on Leno, in which they had switched some guitars and amplifiers. And I told Tyler, I said I ain't gonna tell anybody, so I can't go. I'm not gonna go into detail about that story, but like things were different. And I was like, which one do you like better? He's like, the first one. I was like, okay, I won't tell anybody. I won't mention any brands. But so after that show, because we hung out and talked to him for probably, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, just like, it was fan band interaction, but it wasn't like fangirling type stuff, So then they go to Juanita's. This is probably several months later. And TJ and I and whoever we were with were standing in line waiting to get in. And Theory's bus is, and by the way, we have played Juanita's several times to this point. So like the staff at Juanita's knows us, the bartenders know us. The guy who books us obviously knows us. The sound guy really knew us.
That sound guy loved us.
He was a big fan. He was like, I love when y'all play because I can just sit back and what was he playing? Chess on his phone? Not his phone. He had a little laptop.
Computer, yeah.
His computer, yeah. He had a little computer back there and he's playing chess on. He's like, I love when you guys play. He's like, y'all know your stuff. You know what you're doing. But yeah, it was really cool. I'll tell you another story another time about the time that I made that man throw his headphones off. Remember that one?
Yep. That was our first time there.
This is the first time there.
Good
Anyways,
impression.
yes, it was. So we're at Juanita's, and it's Blackstone, Theory, and who? I don't remember the third band. It might have just been them. But so like we're standing in line waiting to get in.
Hinder. It was Hinder.
Hinder. It was Hinder. Holy no, because Hinder headlined. And
that's right.
And we were like, well, whatever. Which is funny because, Theory's Canadian, Blackstone Cherry from the great state of Kentucky, and Hinder just down the road from us at Oklahoma City. And we were like, whatever.
Well, they had one good song.
Blackstone, the guys from Blackstone are hanging out at the booth. We're going to go talk to him while y'all play, which is weird when you're talking to a person sitting down at a booth, autographing stuff, but you guys are both yelling at each other because the band is still playing. One of these was so tiny. But anyways, we're standing outside in line and we're just kind of him-humming around. Theory's bus is right there in front of the doors. And Dean, the bass player, comes off the bus. This is after Oklahoma City, where we got to meet them basically for the first time. And then Dean comes out of Juanita's, getting back on the bus. And I was like, Dean, like, hey, buddy, And Dean looks over at me and TJ, and he's like, what's up, guys? Comes over and like talks to us for like 5 minutes before he gets back on the bus. And I was kind of like, cool. Then when we opened for them again in Fort Smith, Dean was like, what's up? And I was like, man, this guy meets so many people, and like for some reason he remembers us. It's probably because the
two little fat guys from Arkansas.
Two little fat guys from Arkansas.
And there's a lot of little fat guys in Arkansas.
There's a lot of little fat guys. And Froto, you've come to our show again.
Froto, have you been eating everything in the Shire?
Froto, Bilbo, so nice to see you.
I love it when the hobbits make it to my show. Well, okay, hey, listen, to circle back to me in all of this, I wanted to defend myself and say I wasn't necessarily starstruck. You guys were in situations where it's appropriate to talk to said celebrities. I'm gonna jump a guy that's getting off a tiny airplane with me in Northwest Arkansas. I don't think he wants to interact with people because he's not trying to draw attention. Jimmy Hart strikes me as a person that if he wants attention, he can get the attention. And if he wants to be left alone and just eat his little shitty cracker that Delta serves, then he's just gonna do that. And you know what? All power to him. All power to him. I also, during that flight, sat next to another very large, small, fat man from Arkansas, or I assume the southern region, and we both were wearing shorts, and flights always start out incredibly hot to me, and so our legs were uncomfortably touching, and it almost felt like ripping off adhesive when our legs finally got done touching, because we had been both fat and sweating upon each other. Also, listen, because we've all talked about weight during this episode so far, I had a thought today while I was driving to pick up my Taco Bell. And
that's a good way to segue into what you're about to go into.
And because I had seen I had been inundated with so many different like commercials and people talking about it, and then I got a Facebook advertisement for another brand version of what Ozempic does. So everyone's, people that need Ozempic or any kind of things like that, people that need it because they have to have it, or because their doctor's like, hey, you may die if you don't do this. All power to you. Random other a-holes that buy it off insurance and use it for the... that's still an awesome choice. I don't have the spare money to do that. My thought, though, TJ, is this. I remember a time when if you were going to be a fat person and rapidly lose weight, it's because you were cursed by a gypsy for almost hitting her with your car. And now we're at the point that... Yeah, and now we're at the point where everyone wants to be gypsy cursed by a needle bottle, and I just don't get it. You know what? The guy was happier at the beginning and dies at the end. I want to be the happy guy all the way through. Y'all are inviting gypsy curses upon yourselves, and I don't have time for it. So
I mean, it's this thing that pisses me off about it. It's a diabetes drug, and
yes.
The doctors are prescribing it. I mean, luckily now there's like 2 or 3 different other kinds of the same shit that's out there that doctors are prescribing. But the fact of the matter is, it's a diabetes drug, which I have to take it for my diabetes.
Diabetes.
And I mean, of course, I could probably take another drug or whatever, but I choose a once weekly injection because it's so much easier than shoving a handful of pills down your damn throat every day. So.
Ozempic, sponsor of the show.
Hey, you know what? If they want to give me, as expensive as that shit is, let me tell you this. Even my insurance is still like $250 a month. Yeah. Like after it, like if I didn't have insurance, it would be like $1,300 a month.
Okay, and there's people paying that price. Oh yeah.
Ozempic, That's all I wanted to do.
We're not supposed to be a designer drug that you assholes keep making us out to be.
Exactly. And
I'm Wilford Brimley.
That's the thing is like a lot of the insurance companies are like, they don't want to put it like pay for it because people are getting prescribed it for losing that extra 5 pounds around the holidays. Okay. So, I mean, the South Park episode really hits the nail on the head. If you haven't seen it, but
there's a picture that I see every so often pop up on X Twitter, and I want Jared to hear this because I think Jared would appreciate this too.
Probably
Jared, there's a picture that pops up on my X every so often, and it's of, I forget who it is. Maybe it's Megan Trainor. It's someone of that ilk. A performance lady that sings. Well, whoever this person was had a big butt at one time, and now they do not have nearly as big of a butt. And the caption always is, "I will never forgive Ozempic for what it's done." But yeah, that's my thought.
Apparently, she is no longer about that bass.
No, she's all treble. She's all treble.
She gave it up. She was like, I like the treble side of life, man. I like the treble side of life.
But yes, if there's going to be any takeaways from today's audio podcast, it's don't be afraid to reach out to celebrities unless it's Jimmy Hart on an airplane in Northwest Arkansas. It was once okay to be fat and not be cursed by gypsies, but now everyone wants gypsy curses. Jared and TJ have a lot of very interesting band stories that I feel like we should have been tapping into, but we need to do this. We stopped doing it, but we every now and then do it, and it's like, oh damn, that's a great idea. Why didn't we think of that? We did.
So to go on that too, like we could retell these stories because like some of them are going to get lost in the mix on some of this. So like
it'd be different each time.
Whatever. We can figure it out. That's another thing, TJ. Tomorrow, if you come over, let's brainstorm some band talk ideas.
Yeah.
Now that I've got this second microphone and a mount.
Oh. All right. This has been 3 Lame Guys. We're going to go watch Thunder in Paradise and probably hate ourselves afterwards. I have a ticking time bomb known as Taco Bell sitting in my stomach, so who knows where we're going to go with tonight. But like, comment, subscribe, follow, share, kiss your grandma, don't kiss your grandma, bring your grandma to the pet cemetery, do all those things, and we will love you and appreciate you next time. Adios. Don't get cursed by a gypsy. Remain fat.
Don't bury him in the pet cemetery, Emmett. Whatever his name was.
I won't like what they become.
Hey, has anyone ever buried a person Christ on his throne? No.
You know what's funny? I would like to see them do is Pet Cemetery 3, where it's like someone's grandparents died and they bury the grandparents in the pet cemetery. And the grandparents are being so old, come back and they can't really, like chase after you like a younger person could. But then they're like, oh, we're gonna make some cookies, and then just...
No, the M. Night Shyamalan twist is you buried them, they weren't dead, they were just sleeping really hard. We haven't come back cursed, we were just sleeping. Why did you bury us?
Your grandfather.
Why do you keep hitting me with the shovel?
You shouldn't have done that, we were just old. We're making $1 million ideas, suggestions every time, and no one's listening.
Hey.
All right, bye.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say.
Ghost with the gun.
Ghost with the gun. Give me solo shot.
Okay, 1 second. Let it it transition immediately.
M. Night, give us a call. All right, that's all I wanted.
Or
should just be like a
Philly sack of shit.
That should just be like a. That should just be like a like a YouTube short. Just it's like, oh, well, Jared, M. Night, give us a call.
Yes.
Every time we do that, M. Night, give us a call.
That'll just be our tagline for everything.
Eventually, he's going to call. Even if he says, "You guys are stupid,"
or we'll get his
you
daughter.
You guys are so lame.
We'll get AM Night.
I'd be okay with that. Just a night.
I want AM Night.
Just give me a night.
Well, one night with Shyamalan.
One night in Shyamalan. I don't know.
In China.
So, speaking of politics, no, I really think that would be...
Thunder in Paradise?
Well, yes, we'll do that in just a second.